You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes,
He's
sir.
back.
Yep.
Vic Mensa.
Yo, what up, man? How you doing?
Welcome, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you, man.
You seem like you're in a great mood, man.
I am.
Word.
Why so happy?
up?
Last time you wasn't as cheery. Well, why so happy this time?
I wasn't that cherry last time.
No.
He's a human being.
don't
Sometimes
remember
he's in a
that,
good
man.
mood.
Okay.
Sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's
Okay.
happy.
So why so cheery now?
What's making you happy today,
Yeah.
Vic? This morning, when you woke up this morning, what made you happy?
Because it's cold outside.
It's actually not that cold to me, personally,
you from
because I'm from
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, I got an ill coat. It's very warm. You know, I mean, I'm just blessed, man. I'm happy to be alive. Every time I remind myself of that, that makes me happy. You know what I'm saying?
Gratitude. They always say if gratitude is your attitude, like you can't have real joy unless you have
It's all
gratitude.
about your frame of mind. You know what I'm saying?
Well, thanks again for donating to Change for Change. That was the last time that we saw you.
No
Absolutely.
doubt.
And we know it's a big deal to you when we talk about mental health because of what
Word
you've been
up.
doing in Chicago with your own organization as well.
Such a big deal, man. I mean, I can't even go into specifics, but it's like my family is going through some stuff right now on that front. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's something that couldn't be more relevant to me.
I see you have on the side of your head, "Where is my mind?"
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah, tattoo. So you're always
What
talking
happened
about
to
you
it?
just don't want to lose your mind.
That's true. I mean, you know, I feel like that this is like it's an everyday struggle. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that you got to keep focusing on. For me, at least, the mental health stuff. I've been going through it for a long time now, and I recognize that it's an uphill battle, and each day, you know what I'm saying? You just have to you got to be solid.
You know, that's actually why
Take it a day at a time.
that's actually why I started going to therapy last year because I was like, I do not want to go crazy. Like, you know, you see certain people, they just go crazy, and you're like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't want to be that guy.
Word up, me neither.
Now, you got Hooligan coming out December 14th.
Yeah,
Hooligans.
Why'd you name it Hooligans?
yeah.
Because you know that's what the white man thinks when they look at Chicago. They say they're a bunch of hooligans in the city.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we grew up, you know. And I'm from a place called Hyde Park.
The Hyde Park Hooligans.
Hyde Park Hooligans. You know, that's just what it was. And so after there were a couple energies on that project that just reminded me a lot of that. And in general, I wanted to make music that could touch on certain pillars of my experience and my personality, and really speak directly to them. So I was thinking about being a kid and being in high school because, you know, a lot of things have changed, but also a lot of things haven't changed. You know, I've been the person that I am for a long time. It's like being a hooligan, but also just growing up and becoming a man. You know what I'm saying? And try to hold on to the things that excited me and made me move when I was a kid and apply them to being an adult.
How does some of those things help you as an adult, though? What if they don't benefit you anymore as an adult?
A lot of them don't benefit.
Yeah.
But I think some of them do. You know, all the violence and things like that doesn't benefit me. You know, that was a big part of me being a kid. But you still got to have an outlet for that energy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like my whole life is that I was programmed in that way. And when I started to read bell hooks, that's when I peeped game and was like, you know, starting to dissect and break down why I was so violent. And hearing her talk about like black masculinity, male masculinity, and you know, how the traditional avenues of being a man were taken from a black man in America, you know, all the way back from the boat and slavery and then up through, you know, Reconstruction, and it was only black women working and black men were, you know, so black men had to find their own new ways of feeling masculine, of being a man, because they weren't able to be the breadwinner. So, you know, start playing jazz music and, you know, also being very aggressive and violent.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? A couple years back, I really started to dissect that, but as I'm still growing, you know, and trying to grow out of those things. But I've had a violence-free 2018.
Who put you onto that
He
book?
said 2018.
In 2018.
You know what's so crazy? All of the
have.
ways that we were taught to be masculine was complete bullshit,
Word up.
especially in the hood.
Definitely. I mean, it's like, you think about it, it's bananas when you think about actually like getting in a fight with somebody because they looked in your direction.
Yeah.
You know
Or
what I'm
they step on
saying?
your shoe.
Yeah.
You
Or they
know what I
bump
mean?
into
Like
you by
real
accident.
stuff.
Yeah,
like
right.
like what you looking at is a real thing that has started whole fights. You know,
But do people
died from
provoke
that.
you more now because of who you are?
People definitely do provoke me, but it's also, you know, the ball is also in my court. It's like whether or not I decide to let myself be provoked. You know what
You
I'm
have
saying?
the power to not let them.
You got the power, and that could be difficult. You know, I ain't gonna hold you. I've been growing a lot recently with that though, and just realizing that all that bickering and all that's not the energy I want in my life. You know, and to just let those things come my way as they will, but you know, not be reactionary about them.
What stopped you from that? Because a lot of people were taking shots at you recently, and what stopped you from just saying, you know what, I don't need to reply, I don't need to respond?
When I got off the internet, I was like, oh man, you know, it was like, I was like, first of all, I don't have the bandwidth to be like, to be engaging with all these people I don't know that are pretty much just like shadows to me. They're not even real people to me, you know, and there's all these different parts of the internet attacking me, and then my phone number and address went online, and well, people around me told me, first of all, get off of the internet, get off Instagram, Twitter, you know, especially when you're drunk. You know what I mean? I was like, you know what, you're right. I should probably get off of here. This is not really benefiting me. You know what I'm saying?
Was this backlash to the XXX comments?
Yeah.
Did you
Okay,
feel
okay.
the need to explain yourself with that though?
There were certain parts of it that I wanted to explain. You know what I'm saying? When it initially started to just kind of flare up or whatever, but you know, as it progressed and there were just more and more internet revelations and all these different things, I didn't feel like I needed to explain myself, because I recognized that it wasn't about anything that I would say, and it wasn't about the truth of anything I had said. It was just that, you know, I hit some people in a soft spot in a tender area. You know what I mean?
But it was because the brother had got killed.
Right.
Yeah.
Understood. You
So
know
what,
what
so
I'm saying?
so was the line worth all of that smoke?
And his mom was there too. I think that was part of it too. And his mom.
That was all a part of it. You know, the thing was too that people didn't actually see it
It was before
or
they
hear
saw
it. You know what I mean? They didn't actually know
Good
what
point.
was going on. You know what I mean? They just saw all the headlines, and to this day, still a lot of people only saw all the headlines. I actually reached out to his mother personally though, you know, because we pre-taped those things. I didn't know she'd be there. You know, at the end of the day, I do think that the conversation, you know what I'm saying, that I was trying to bring up, and that I did bring up, is a super necessary conversation. Maybe the way of going about it, you know, was not the best for the time, but I think the conversation is one that had to be had, you know what I'm saying, and talking about violence against women and just misogyny in hip hop, but particularly violence against women. You know what I mean? I had a lot of people on the low reach out to me and, you know, and thank me for that. But the masses are loud, and the internet, the peanut gallery can be vicious.
What did you say to his mom?
I just reached out, you know what I'm saying, and you know, apologized to her because I didn't know she would be in attendance. Like I said, when I was online, it was like I wouldn't walk back any of my statements, because what I said I meant, you know, and I think some more truth came to light not long after, you know what I'm saying? But that whole situation is just one for me to learn and grow from, you know what I mean? Because like, as when I had spoke to you, you know, my initial mentality surrounding it, I've always been somebody with no filter, you know what I'm saying? I've always been somebody to just say what it is they feel, in lamest terms, you know what I mean, blunt. And I always have felt like I could never be wrong in doing that, because I was telling the truth. Now, if I was lying, you know what I'm saying? And I'm also not somebody that's too proud to apologize or recognize when I'm wrong, you know what I mean? But I always felt that if I was telling the truth, then, you know, why hold my tongue, or why change the way I'm saying something? And I recognize that, you know, the man being deceased complicates things. And
Absolutely. Your whole overall message gets lost. Because people
100%.
love him, and like that's they lost a family member, they lost a friend, so they don't
Brother,
care about anything else
son.
you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's like I kind of was coming from a place. It's like I had been talking about this for some time before that event, and like, you know, the energy you put into the universe comes back to you.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I was watching a lot of things, and I was like, man, the energy going into the universe is gonna come back to you. And you know, to be honest, it's like I think my mentality was so informed by like where I come from that I was like, death is really normal to me.
So you think that I was going to ask you that, was you numb to it, even though he had passed away, but you've seen so much death around you that it was just like
way numb.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like death is very normalized to us, and you know, and it's fucked up, but we see death so much that like we make jokes about that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like people, Chicago got a whole thing of like smoking they ops in a backwood. You know what I'm saying? That's what they talk about.
But
It's
you
like,
understand the severity of it, because I remember when you pressed academics over his comments about the war in Chirac, so you didn't like him making fun of
no, 100%.
stuff going on, the deaths in Chicago.
100%. You know what I'm saying? But I just say that to say that like I was quite numb to death, because I'm like, well, you know, I know a lot of young niggas out here that lost their life that were not doing, you know, nothing to deserve it. You know what I mean? And we're not putting that type of energy into the earth. But something I came to realize through the thing, you know, after I said the shit, and, you know, after I'm fucking going back and forth with the internet and all this, No ID kind of put me on some game. You know, he was like, empathy, you know, which is a word that I always reference, but sometimes you know things and you need to actually like remember that you know them, you know,
Right.
like remind yourself. You might have learned some information, you know, and I was talking about empathy a lot when I did my last album, because that's what I was trying to give people a window into my situation, into Chicago, an empathetic window, you know what I'm saying, where they could see us as human beings, because it's always just statistics, etc. And you know what I'm saying, I realized that sometimes it could be hard to have empathy for someone else until you need God to have empathy for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so whereas when I first said the shit in the rap, you know, I wasn't having any empathy for the man, because I was like, I was seeing no humanity in him. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, the things that, you know, that the young man had did were wild, you know, and I wasn't trying to see any humanity in him. You know, and until it was like I needed God to have empathy for me. You know what I mean?
Now, would you, if you had a chance to do it again, would you still say that line because that's who you are and that's what you felt, or thinking about it now, you was like, I wouldn't have done that?
I mean, I actually don't even think about that, because I know I can't change the past. You know what I mean? I'm strictly living in the present, and you know what I mean. But Dave was like, when we was coming up here, he was like, you know what? When we on our way to New York, he was like, you might want to show me a couple of them verses you finna be rapping.
Now,
He was
also,
like, you might want to show me a couple of them verses. I was like, word up, I got you, fo.
Do you feel like you wanted to apologize to anybody who may have been offended by it?
To
Like
no,
his family, friends?
to his mother, yes.
Yeah.
To his mother, yes. I mean, everything else, you know, shit.
I think a lot of that is ego, though. And the reason I say that, like, if somebody like, what's the guy, Slump God, who was close to XX, says something like, oh, Vic, you know, we gonna see you when we see you.
They
You
all
know,
said all that.
Hey, they have. But I think for you to still be like, yeah, let's fight when we see each other, that's kind of ego. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying I don't have an ego.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't be believing these niggas.
But you got to know why they mad.
Yeah,
though.
but you
that's
gotta
like if your
understand why
man
they
got
mad.
No, I
killed.
get it. Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
you gotta understand why they mad.
100%. I definitely understand why they're upset, and I have from the rip. I'm just like, you know, get it how you live.
You don't have to be that way, Vic.
That's true,
You don't
'cause
have
know-
to do
you
that.
know it was-
You know
it
you
was-
kind of wrong.
It was wrong. You know
You know what I'm
was
saying?
wrong.
But I also know I'm kind of right.
He's saying
True.
he's
Two
not
things can
walking
be
back
true.
what he said.
Definitely. No, you know what it is that like I would apologize to the man's mother for the reasons that I stated, but a lot of these other guys, you know what I'm saying, and the way they approached it, I'm like, y'all energy was different when I saw y'all in person, you know what I'm saying? And I already read what's going on there. And so I'm not gonna apologize to a nigga that got me fucked up. Are we live?
Go ahead.
No, you can curse, guys.
It's not
Okay.
live,
But you're not trying to fight or anything.
No, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
fight nobody. I don't want to fight nobody. I don't have time for that shit. You know what I'm saying?
A
It's
lot
like,
of these guys you didn't like anyway, though. You didn't like no jumper. Adam 22. You didn't like him already.
I actually didn't know about him. I only knew.
Got you.
Only thing I knew about him was like rapey things. You know what I mean? And then once it became a thing, then I looked him up or whatever and knew more about him. But no wanting to fight nobody. I definitely don't have time for that. And that's not even what's going on out here. We grown ass men. This is not high school. Niggas is not fighting like that.
Now, can we switch gears for a second?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I just want to talk about Palestine because I know you went there, and I was looking at how Mark Lamont Hill got fired
Shout out.
for his remarks
Yeah.
about Palestine. So I'm sure you have a whole different knowledge of what's happening with Palestine and Israel because you've been there.
Mm-hmm.
So can you speak on that and what you think about what happened to Mark Lamont Hill?
To see Mark Lamont Hill be going through this controversy based on his statements surrounding Palestine and Israel is not at all surprising. You know what I'm saying? When I was flying back from Palestine, you got to go through Tel Aviv, you know. I had a book called On Palestine, and I had a series of like maybe 3 or 4 souvenir plates and ashtrays and stuff. One said like Jerusalem, one said Palestine, and one said, I don't know, Bethlehem or something like that. When I'm in the airport, they call my name on the intercom, and I'm thinking I left something at security or something like that. The woman runs up on me like, yo, we found this book in your bag. It says Palestine. How do you even know about Palestine? Like, how do you even know about that? And that's when it really dawned upon me how much they were trying to erase Palestine from the memory of anyone.
What else did you see when you were there?
What else did I
Because
see?
we're seeing it through your eyes right now.
I saw some crazy shit. I was in a refugee camp right across the wall in close to Bethlehem, outside of Jerusalem. It's called Ida Refugee Camp. And I was on a rooftop where the water tank was kept for a certain building. As I'm walking through even just the stairs to get to the rooftop, it reminded me a lot of the projects. You know what I'm saying? It was basically identical to some projects, but even more dilapidated, you know what I mean? And so I get to the rooftop, all of them have rationed water. They can only have a certain amount of water per week. So I'm looking in this water tank, and it has these swimming worms in it, you know? And then that's to my left, and then I look to the right, and I'm maybe 100 meters away from the wall that separates Israel and Palestine, built by Israel. And I can see these just rolling green pastures and like perfect buildings from this like Jewish settlement. And it looked like the Capitol in Hunger Games, you know? They had a half Olympic swimming pool over there. And I'm just looking in this water tank with these worms in it.
The water with worms is rationed.
Is rationed, you know what I'm saying? And these people, their blood is in this land, you know what I'm saying? They just across the wall, that land used to belong to them, you know what I'm saying? Until it was taken from them through violence. And that was wild to me. I also went down certain streets, in a city called Hebron, where if you were Palestinian, you couldn't even go down. So they would stop us, and then our tour guide would talk to them, and speaking in another language, they'd be like, no. And then, a settler got out of a truck, ran up on us, and he was like, point blank, he was like, well, you see, Arab can't come down this street because Arabs come and they make terrorist attack. So no Arabs on this street. This street, Jews only. And I was like, damn, you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Because that's a little bit of a different brand of racism than the one that I've experienced. You know what I'm saying? I remember being a shorty and, you know, the police would hem me up and they'd be like, what you doing on the north side? Shouldn't you be on the south side? You feel me? But it was it was slightly more coded, you know, than just like, you're black, you cannot be on this street. And I mean, when you see things like that, it's hard to really stay quiet about them because it screams like Jim Crow, you know what I mean?
I know nothing about the Palestinian versus Israeli conflict. I mean, when I say 0-0, I just know that there is a conflict. Let's switch gears a little bit. Does Vic Mensa think he has to make a hit record to be successful? That's the other flack I see you get all the time. They're like, shut up, Vic, and make a record.
Man, I got a lot of records. I won't hold you. You know, I really have tried to come from a body of work standpoint. You know what I'm saying? And I do believe that time will show that the bodies of work that I put together last. You know what I'm saying? And they impacted a lot of people. And the way
bigger than just a hit record.
More than just a hit record. I had a line when I was like 16 years old. I said something like, let them other niggas mingle and line, twinkle and shine, a star, Disney in 99, brink on the grind. I'd rather drop a fucking classic than make a single and sign. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I try to impact people with music the way that like Tupac impacted me. And you know, when I have people tell me all the time that like my music saved their life, kept them from killing themselves. You know what I'm saying? That's why I do it for. That's what I do it for more than a hit record or anything like that. I do it to touch people, you know what I'm saying? And so those things are the things that really, really resonate with me.
So when you hear somebody, like when I remember 6ix9ine was doing Angie Martinez, he's like, name a Vic Mensa record. That don't make you be like, all right, let's get in the studio with Ty Dolla $ign or whoever and try to make a record.
He should have been watching what he was saying on Instagram to begin with.
How do you feel about that situation?
I mean, how's that supposed to work out? You know what I'm saying?
The energy you put out.
Yeah, what you put out there comes back to you, and it's like you can't be talking about everything on the gram, my nigga. Like the gram is not the place for everything. You know what I mean? But I think we forget that these days because so much of our life revolves around social media. That's why I be having to take myself out of social media because I'm like, hold on, I'm getting caught in this vortex, you know, of what Deanna called a matrix, you know, and it's like I have no choice but to be in the matrix at this point, but I can't spend all my time in there.
What scares me is that we're all becoming human algorithms to virtual reality. You know what I'm saying? Like when you saw what that dude did the other day where he was pretending to be Travis Scott and everybody runs with the story.
I didn't even see that.
Oh, it was
this
crazy.
guy he pretended to be Travis Scott and took a picture kissing a girl. So it made it seem like Travis Scott was cheating on his baby mother.
Yes.
And everybody
He did it
thought
as
it was
a
funny.
social
He did it as a social experiment
But it
just to
ain't
show
funny.
how gullible the internet is.
Yeah, but that shit ain't funny when you got to go home to your girl and your girl's like, might believe it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so they bugged up on him, man?
Yeah.
I mean, but your situation was a human algorithm because, like you said, nobody even saw the freestyle.
Right.
But somebody heard what you said from somebody else, and then everybody formed an opinion off what that person said they heard.
Exactly.
Did you think BET should have censored it? Like they did, but did you think they should have, or you think they should have let the whole thing play?
You know, I don't really believe in censorship, but I don't think that really changed anything anyway. You know what I mean?
Now, when you have a song like Dark Things and you talk about trying to make sure you don't lose your mind, what are some things that you do when you feel like things are spiraling with your anxiety and everything?
A lot of anxiety. I've been actually like listening to this book, man. I was reading it. It's called The Power of Positive Thinking.
Love it.
You fuck with that?
Yes, sir.
Word up. Yeah, that book is crazy. And so that's actually been kind of like keeping me level-headed. I haven't really been on it since I've been out in New York, but I started listening to it on tape when I ride my motorcycle and just like, you know, although it's like, vroom, vroom, you know, some fast kind of like rumble-tumble shit, but in my ears I'm listening to like, just like a doctrine on how to keep your mind positive. You know what I'm saying?
So how did that work though? Because then you do a song like Darker Things. So you talk about energy, You know what I'm saying? So if you're talking about something like that and putting it out there,
Right. You know what
and
I'm
having
saying?
to perform it and
Well, I mean, dark music, I've always been drawn to it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of my favorite, when I was a kid, my favorite artist and my favorite band was Nirvana. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that was some beautifully dark music. You know what I'm saying? And when I made that song, I was definitely in a very dark place. And I think I like to be able to represent those things. Like, same way I was talking about having an outlet for certain energies. You know what I'm saying? And to put the outlet for that mentality and that energy into music, as opposed to put it into drugs or put it into hurting other people. You know what I'm saying? Because these are all things that I've done at different times, or put it into
Sex.
women, sex. These are all things I've done at different times to escape what I felt was a void in myself, or fill a hole that I felt. And I need to be able to express that energy. It's way better done in music, and me try to keep my actual actions in line with positive thinking, than repress the shit. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like therapy. Like if you go to therapy, like if you got some dark shit on your mind,
You gotta
get
say
it
it.
out.
You know what I'm saying? That's how you could come to terms with it, is addressing the shit and, not being afraid to be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying?
You should listen to Oprah's Super Soul Conversation today with what's her name? Brenna Brown.
You said Oprah?
Yeah. Oh, you don't listen to her Super Soul Conversations?
I don't know what Super Soul Conversation
Oh my
is.
God.
It's a podcast,
If you listen to
it comes out every
podcasts, you should download
I ain't
Oprah's
listened
Super
to a
Soul
podcast
Conversation.
yet, but I would be down to.
Because if you're looking for a positive affirmation, great daily affirmation,
I know, she probably the one. She,
Oprah will do it.
Brina Brown, called Daring Greatly. It's a great book too, but she's talking about all of that, being vulnerable. It's great.
You talked about Nirvana just now and liking that type of music, but you are also doing a rock album.
yeah, I'm doing a punk album.
So when is that coming out?
I'm looking at March. I'm trying to get it out.
So you already
by
started
March.
recording?
You said what?
You started recording already?
Yeah. I got like 25 songs for that that are on the board. You know what I mean? Maybe like 7 that I'm like, I need. You know what I'm saying? Because I got this clothing line called 93 Punks. I think I'm wearing some of it. Yeah.
I think you are.
Yeah, I got a clothing line called 93 Punks. I probably came up here last time in one of the jackets I made. And so that's kind of tied in with the album.
The leather jacket.
And that's tied in with the 93 Punks album. And it's like, it's all this music that's like mad conceptual and like very topical, but also kind of ambiguous. So it'll sound fun, but it'll really be talking about like immigration detention centers and shit like that. And it's just been an outlet. That's been another way for me to like express certain conceptual energies, because with the rap music I was making this year, I wasn't making as conceptual of music. You know what I'm saying? My last album was very conceptual. This year, like the conceptual shit I've been making, I started writing things on paper again, and then I started making this punk album, which is something I wanted to do for a long time.
Well, Hooligans comes out next week, right?
December 14th.
December 14th, next Friday. Make sure you go
14.
pick it up, and we appreciate you for joining us, brother.
I appreciate y'all.
All right, it's The Breakfast Club. It's Vic Mensa.